Hello, everybody. This is Giancarlo Aulino, and in this segment, we're going to get some insight into the world of professional wrestling. To help us out today, I'm happy to be joined by my guest. He is the author of Slobberknocker, My Life in Wrestling, and WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross. Hello, Jim. Welcome to Beyond the Game.
Thanks for having me on.
How you doing today?
Very good, thanks. Couldn't be better. Any day above ground's a good day.
That's good. Jim, as mentioned, you're the author of Slobberknocker, My Life in Wrestling, which has been very successful since its release and top of the charts on Amazon. What made you want to write a book on your career in pro wrestling, and what was that process like for you?
Well, I felt like when I left WWE in 2013, I was looking for projects to do. I've been approached by various publishers to write an autobiography, and I just never took the time or thought I had the time. And then when we left there in September of 2013, I found myself with time to strategize new projects, and writing a book was one of them. So we just brought it forward chronologically with all the research we did. We had a roadmap, but Paul O'Brien was my partner, and he still is my writing partner, and he and I will be working together as it stands today on the sequel to Slobberknocker, which we hope to have out by the holidays of 2019. So it's all good. It's all good. I enjoy the process. Is good. It was cathartic at times. It was challenging to finish because my original writing partner dropped dead of a heart attack. My wife, as we were coming down the home stretch of finishing the book, got ran over by a careless driver and killed. So it was challenging to get my creative spirit back. But I remember my old man told me in the 9th grade, son, quitting's the easiest thing in the world to get good at. And so I remembered that for some reason. There's always a reason. And we finished, and I'm sure happy that we did. It's exceeded our expectations. It's on its 4th printing. It's being talked about for other projects, spin-offs, including some video projects based on the book. So we'll see how it all works out. But it's been a very fun process, and for me, being a widower and certainly unprepared for such, it gives me projects to work on, and I can be around positive people. I can be around people that want to be around me, and vice versa. So it's a purpose. It serves many masters. In addition, you hope you make a couple of bucks selling some books. Hello. But bottom line, you want to make sure that you're enjoying the fruits of your labor, and I have been on this book so far.
This morning you helped the great people of New Orleans kick off Wrestlemania weekend with your one-man show, where you tell stories from your career in pro wrestling, from behind the scenes, or even stories you had from sitting on commentary. What's it been like for you to interact with your fans from around the world, and what have you enjoyed most about your one-man shows?
Well, it's heartwarming, the reception I've been getting, and I've gotten the reception positively for many years. I'm very blessed to say. So I've always been embraced by the fan base because they knew early on, and those that followed my career over the years know that I'm going to keep it pretty much real. I don't play the role of a wrestling announcer. I don't have fake costuming and all these other things. I'm me, for better or for worse, quite frankly. And so I think they saw that I was real and that I was a legitimate wrestling fan, just like them. It happened to be for me that I had a little bit better seat than most of them, sitting at ringside all those years. So but I think that's the whole deal. They didn't feel like they were being worked. They didn't feel like they were being, played when they heard my work, because it was me being legitimate within the context of the genre. So I wanted to say things when the match is going well that you could relate to and not roll your eyes.
For those just joining us on Vibe 105, we're speaking with WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross. Jim, wrestling fans that have followed your career know that you've also served as the VP of Talent Relations for WWE, and part of your responsibility was to not only recruit talent to fill out the roster, but you also had to look for talent that could potentially be the face of WWE and help make the company profitable long term. Can you talk to us a little bit about what it was like recruiting talent for Vince McMahon, and what were some of the qualities you looked for in a talent?
I love that facet of my career, being in administration, specifically the recruiting, development, overall development, in all phases of the talent. I'm very, very blessed and thankful that I can look back on a lot of the guys that our team brought into the game that have become very wealthy and very famous, and that makes me feel really good. It's like a family member finding success. Yeah. And then some of these guys have had success way above what one would ever expect. So that was good. I enjoyed doing that. Vince let me have there was a good period of time there where I had a good reign, a good opportunity to sign people, and he left that up to me. And, I understood the accountabilities. If I signed a bunch of losers and they didn't make it to the main roster in a main event level, then somebody else would be sitting in my chair sooner than later. So, or until I burned out, which I eventually did. But nonetheless, the recruiting and the training and the mentoring, I love. I love doing that to this very day. I enjoy helping talents, answer a few questions or get them, straightened out a little bit on certain facets of their career. I'm not there to tell them the proper way to execute a snap mare. I can tell them it looks good. I can tell them what I can sell, but that's not me to tell them how to do technique. But I can help them in so many other areas that are maybe arguably more important, like psychology, telling a story, execution, and how to conduct yourself away from the ring. And the things that you could do if you're smart and you plan, this could be the only job you need. And then when you're done, you're set. So things like that I think are very important, and more important to me than learning how to execute a good snap mare. If you can't figure that up, then you're in the wrong business anyway.
Yeah, Jim, your track record speaks for itself. You've signed some of the biggest names in the industry to WWE. Guys like The Rock, Mick Foley, Edge, guys who have been big fans of pro wrestling growing up, or even those like The Rock that had grown up in a family of pro wrestlers. One of your signings that I'd like to ask you about, though, is Brock Lesnar, who will be appearing in his 8th Wrestlemania this Sunday. Now, unlike The Rock, Brock Lesnar isn't part of a pro wrestling family. He's mentioned in the past that he's never really watched or been a fan of wrestling growing up, and he's a guy who values his privacy a great deal. Knowing what you did about Brock's personality, did you find any difficulties in recruiting him out of college?
No, he was looking for work. He wanted to make money. He was always about his compensation, and he was smart in that regard. He paid attention. So no, Brock was a part of a signing group that included him, Cena, Batista, Orton, and Shelton Benjamin. So he came in with a very talented group, and that made them all better, quite frankly. But he was very competitive because he's a legit athlete with a NCAA national championship under his belt, all real. Yeah. And here's the thing about that, not growing up as a fan. First of all, people don't realize he grew up in South Dakota on a dairy farm. I'm kind of doubting they had cable, okay, number one. And secondly, by not being a quote-unquote fan or a devotee of the business, he had no bad habits. He had no erroneous role models. He was clean. So we got him that way because all we saw was a 6'3", 285-pound guy that could move as good as any junior heavyweight that we had in camp, that was, more athletically gifted with strength and power and speed, that whole combination anybody we arguably had ever recruited. So we looked at the positives there. And the guy's got to evolve in how his personality is going to be dictated based on his experiences on the road and at work. And the one thing about Brock, he's not made a secret. And I think most guys probably feel the same way. They don't feel like they have the stroke to say it. But, a lot of guys would rather be home more than they're on the road. That's not an unusual emotion. So I like the way that he's being booked. I like the fact he's not overexposed. I like the fact that he stays fresh. He has the advantage of having the greatest talker in the business on his corner and representing him, and Paul Heyman. So, I like... that never bothered me.
Once again, for those just joining us on Vibe 105, we're speaking with WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross. Jim, you've been doing some commentary for New Japan Pro Wrestling on Access TV, and back on January 4th, you called Wrestle Kingdom 12, which was co-headlined by Kazuchika Okada versus Naito and Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega, who's been gaining more and more fans here in Canada each day. Now, for those that may be unfamiliar with New Japan Pro Wrestling, in what ways would you say the product is different than WWE, and what were some of the things that impressed you about that product?
Well, the company's the most powerful wrestling company in Japan. They are affiliated with TVSI, so they have a good, strong TV presence. The quality of their show is first rate. Their athletic presentation is more reality-based. Maybe more than any other company, they may, top to bottom, work snugger than others. So it's a more old-school approach in that regard, how they're trained and how they're indoctrinated to the business. But I've really enjoyed working there. Access TV's a wonderful company to work. Mark Cuban is a great owner. much like Vince W. I never worry about my checks clearing the bank with Mark Cuban and especially Vince McMahon signing them, so I'm good. But New Japan stuff is fun to do, and it's a little bit old school at certain times, certain matchups, but overall it's kind of reinvigorated me because it's a regular project. You know, I go to L.A. once a month and do 4 shows or something on a day, and then go in a voiceover situation, and then it's a once a month trip to Los Angeles. I don't mind that. I enjoy the people I work with; they're wonderful. The Access TV will never get the credit for how much they have helped build the New Japan brand in America. This won't, and it's sad. But anyway, I love it.
Jim, before we wrap up, during your tenure in WWE, you've been fortunate to call some of the greatest and most talked about WrestleMania matches of all time, like Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock versus Steve Austin, The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. If Vince McMahon approached you and said, Jim, we'd like you to book the main event of WrestleMania, and it could include any 2 stars from either WWE or New Japan Pro Wrestling, which 2 wrestlers would you put against one another, and how do you feel it would attract not only wrestling fans, but casual viewers to want to tune in?
The casual viewer aspect of that question is a little bit tricky because, let's say I select Kazuchika Okada and AJ Styles. Okay, we know that's going to be a great match, right? We're fans. You're a fan. I'm a fan. We watch the New Japan product. Yeah. We watch Access TV. We follow the New Japan world or fan of their brand. But we're in the minority here. So I wouldn't lay a lot of trust in the casual fans. I would lay bulk of my trust into the hardcore fans, the fans that are really serious about the business and consume a lot of product. But AJ and Okada is a match that would be a dream match in that regard at a WrestleMania, no doubt. I mean, they're going to tear it down. This year, if I was asked, what do you think should go on last at WrestleMania, it'd be easy to me. It's Undertaker and Cena. And if it isn't, then I'm sure there'll be a good reason. But to me, this match will never happen again. To me, you look at their resumes, their bodies of work, pretty much astonishing. Yeah. So you got a once-in-a-lifetime thing here that many of us wrestling fans love to invest our passion in. We were there when all this got started with these guys, a lot of us. So to me, it's really intriguing there. But I think Okada and AJ would probably deliver the most foolproof, big-time match that you could probably book.
Yeah, I agree. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You can pick up Slobberknocker, My Life in Wrestling, at your local bookstores or Amazon, and you can follow Jim Ross on Twitter at JRSBBQ. Jim, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to chat with us here on Beyond the Game, and we wish you all the best.
My pleasure, young man. Keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot. That was WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross. Now, we're going to send it back to the studio for more Beyond the Game right here on Vibe 105.
This is WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross, and you're listening to Beyond the Game.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Ross, alongside Jerry, the King Lawler. And killed him. Stardust trying to win this. He is broken in half. Here we go. Tyson Austin. All hell is broken loose. The end could be near for The Rock. He beat Andre the Giant with that move. Oh my God. It's Mill. Milkomania is running wild. $1 million Christmas has become a Dairy Queen.
Beyond the Game, your main source, Vibe 105.